Welcome. This is Frequently Answered Friday. And how these sessions are come about is agents message me in the week and they have a particular question. That particular question is then answered in a very simple way through to them so that they can carry on with their business. However, what I've come to realize is this particular question actually has benefits to share with a lot more people. So, Frequently Answered Friday, it's all about the questions that get submitted through to me. Now, just remember this: if you do have a question, please don't hesitate. Reach out to me and I will actually answer your question directly. But I can use your question in these particular sessions. So, the question that came through to me in this particular week, and this is something that you're going to experience throughout your real estate career. And unfortunately, we do have a saying in real estate: do not get emotionally attached to the outcome. When you get emotionally attached to the outcome, it can affect you in a negative way. So, Stuart, what are you talking about? And what is the question that you've actually shared? Well, this is the actual question. I'm going to give you the scenario. You're busy dealing with a particular seller. Now, they're not a seller yet. They're a client. They're looking at potentially selling their property. And you've had great conversations with them, doing a seller's presentation, giving them the rundown of their particular property when we go through to market. But they say to you, you know what? I'm not ready just yet. I'm going to look at selling this particular property in a couple of days, weeks, months. It's sometime in the actual future. And you've now had this great relationship, this great conversation. However, when the time finally comes and you speak to that particular client, they've listed the property with another agent. Now, I know for a fact it's happened to me personally. And because, as I said, do not get emotionally connected to the outcome, because that particular outcome meant that I don't get a listing, what's actually going to happen is I actually feel almost dejected. I have this negative feeling that overcomes me. And I'm like going, wow, why would that happen to me? So, really, what I want to share with you is when a client is going to become a potential seller, what is it that you should be doing to ensure that you actually get that particular listing? Now, the method that I'm going to share with you is a method that I put in place, and it's a method that I use in all of my training sessions when we are dealing with clients, leads that are going to become a seller in the actual future. And it's so important that you go and follow these particular processes. Else, what's going to happen is you're going to be in that situation where a client says, yes, we are ready. All we need to do is we just want to paint the outside of the house. We've got somebody coming in. We're just waiting for month end to get a bit of money in. And then we're going to do the painting and we're going to list it that first week of the next month. You get all excited, you do a follow up, and then on the first week of the next month, you give them a call and say, right, your house looks fantastic. I drove past it on the weekend. Can we set up that appointment? And they turn around and they say, well, actually, we listed it 2 weeks ago and we've actually got an offer. And now you have that emotional feeling that goes through your body. And it really can take you to a point where you almost want to throw in the towel for real estate. Now, how do we overcome that? How do we get to that point where this scenario does not happen? And it works in this basis. What we typically do is when we're having conversations with leads, now these leads will become clients into the category of a seller. So just bear that in mind. A lead in the category that they are going to be selling their property. So this works in this particular scenario. When you're having conversations with these particular leads becoming clients, you need to put them into a different level of categories. Now, what I mean by different levels of categories, you have 3 categories, and you can call them category A, category B, and category C if you want to. You can actually call them whatever you want to. But ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to create this database and put those clients into those particular categories. Now, every client will start in the very first category. And that very first category is the category where you're in contact with them on a regular basis. Now, I will go in and I'll define each one of these categories so you have a better understanding. When you're having those conversations with them, you'll be able to identify which category they then need to go through to or remain in the category. So let me give you a quick overview of these three categories. And the way I used to do it, I had three categories. I had what I called my hot category. These were my hot seller leads. That's the category name that I actually called it, hot seller leads. The second one were warm seller leads. And the third one was my cool seller leads. So these three categories, and as I mentioned, you can actually label them in any manner that you wish. It could be category 1, 2, 3, category ABC, or you can even call them names if you want, whether it's pet names or animals or something of that. I just called them hot category leads, warm category leads, and cool seller leads. So those were my three different categories. Now, how did I actually put my seller leads into these different categories? Well, it worked like this. When I met somebody for the very first time that showed an interest that they wanted to sell their property, for me, it was regarded as a hot lead. So they went into that particular category. Now, in that category, I had it as an Excel spreadsheet. And in that Excel spreadsheet, I would actually put their name, I would put their contact numbers, I would put the address, and I would put notes. I'd have as much detail as I possibly could in that particular category on Excel. And the very last column was date to sell. So this is a date when we're actually going to market. And I'd have this particular projected date. So the hot category, which is my hot seller leads, I meet you today, you're into that particular category, and I have that conversation with you. Now, in this particular conversation, I'm now going to identify, are you needing or wanting to list your property within the next 7 days? And if they come around and say, yes, we are ready, they remain in that particular category. If they turned around and they said, well, actually, we're looking at putting our property in the market in the next month, they would actually go into my warm category. So that would help me to identify that I've now got my category, my hot category, which is I want to list my property within the next 7 days. My warm category is I want to list my property within the next 30 days. So then they would go into the warm category. And anybody that said, well, we're actually wanting to list our property probably in about a month or two's time, well, then I would put them into the cool seller lead category. Now I've actually identified where they are. And throughout the process, I'm going to be making contact, which I'm going to share with you now. Now, my goal is to move people from the cool to the warm and from the warm to the hot, because the hot seller leads is where I'm getting all my listings that come from. So, what do I need to do? Well, in order to move them from one category to another, I need to have conversations with them. And the conversations that I would typically have with them is always a follow up type of call. Hey, how are you doing? How's the progress? Are we ready to list yet? And the conversation always went on the same basis. I wanted to make sure that I remained top of mind. This is one of the good old fashioned sales slogans that you may have heard: out of sight, out of mind. And that's something that I work with all the time. I wanted to make sure that I was in their space all the time so that I was always top of mind. Now, these three categories, how often did I actually make contact with them? Well, this is exactly what I would do. If you were in my hot seller lead, you would get a daily connection, a daily touch from me. So whether it was sending you a message, a WhatsApp message, and just saying, hey, how's things going today? We're busy with this, and do you need any questions or advances? The second would be giving them a phone call, sending them an email. And in fact, these processes followed all the way through each of the categories. So I made sure on a daily basis, my hot category, daily basis, they got a communication from me. So if they're looking to sell within the next 7 days, they got daily communication from me, a WhatsApp or a message, a phone call or an email. So that's the first thing. You need to get it when you've identified your clients, put them into that category, and you phone them, you message them, you email them on a daily basis. Because when they're ready, phoning them or making contact with them on a daily basis, you're going to be top of mind. We then move on to the warm seller lead category. Now, in the warm seller lead category, they could be wanting to sell in, say, 3 or 4 weeks' time. So ultimately, what I would do is I would be making contact with them only twice a week. So not every single day, but twice a week. And generally, my follow ups was on a Monday and a Thursday. You can pick 2 days of the week, it's your choice. But I would go every Monday and every Thursday. I would make contact with them with either a WhatsApp a message, a phone call, or an email. So twice a week, I was making contact with that particular individual. They're a warm lead. As soon as they said, hey, Stuart, you know what? We're actually almost ready. Hopefully, by the end of the week, guess what? I would move them from the warm category to the hot category, which means instead of only speaking to them every second day or third day or twice a week, it's every single day they've got a communication from me. So, first category, hot. Every single day they get a message. And this includes the weekends, by the way, because those can just be social. Hey, great. I hope you enjoy the weekend and anything that needs to happen there. When they moved to the warm category, it was twice a week that I made contact with them. And I would make sure that it was religiously sent out to them. They would never forget that I'm going to be top of mind with them. So then I'd have my cool. And this is where someone says, you know what? We're looking at selling maybe in about 2 months' time. We're looking at doing a full renovation. We need to do the gardens and all those type of thing. Those individuals, I would then be making contact with them at least once a week. And I would typically have that on a Thursday for myself. So on my Thursdays was really a big day of messaging and making contact with clients. So if they were beyond the 30-day mark, they're cool clients, once a week, I would be making contact with them. And as soon as I got a hint that they're actually within the next 30 days, I upped it to twice a week. Now, I'm making contact on a Thursday, which meant all I'm going to do is I'm going to continue contacting them on a Thursday, and I'm just adding a Monday into that communication and having those particular conversations with them. So now you can see this process that goes through to make sure that we have those communications. Someone says, hey, we're almost ready, bam, first category, and I'm contacting them every single day. Now, in doing what I've just shared with you, what you're going to experience is one, you've actually got a database of people that you need to speak on a regular basis with, which is going to be easy because these are people that you've already had communications with. And by having that high level of communication with them, you're going to find that they're actually going to go, you know, we are looking at selling in about 2 to 3 months' time. So they're on the cool list. However, I've actually got a friend, they're actually looking at selling within the next month. Bam, there's a hot lead. Jump in, get in touch with them, identify if it is a month or next couple of days, and then you can start to build up your database. Do that on an ongoing basis. And you're going to find that you're going to have those communications. When someone does come through to you and they say, hey, you know what, Stuart, I know you've been in contact with me all this time, but we have decided to go with another agent, at least you're still top of mind. And that does happen because of a stronger relationship that they may have had with that particular agent. So it could be a family friend or something of that nature. But this is where you don't stop. For a lot of agents, when it's listed, That particular property, and this is what I want you to do, that particular property, if it has been listed by another agency and it's got a sole mandate, I want you to keep them in the cool seller list. They don't get deleted. They remain in that cool seller list. Why? Because in maybe 2 or 3 months' time, when the mandate expires and they're looking for another agent, guess what? You've remained in communications with them. So a seller never leaves your database until the property is sold. And then they're going to go up into your follow up, which becomes a future buyer, a future client type of database. So, give you a quick little recap and a summary of what I've actually shared with you. You have a seller that says, "Hey, I want to sell with you." And you're getting excited. And then when you give them a phone call, suddenly they've listed with another agent. So, how do we overcome that? Well, we look at creating three categories. Category, and you call them A, B, C, hot, warm, cool, whichever you wish. In the hot category, these are for individuals that are looking at selling their property within the next 7 days, within the next week. They're looking at selling, they become a hot lead. You make contact with them every single day with either a WhatsApp, a call, or an email. Every single day, you make contact with them. If they're only looking at selling possibly within the next month, they go into category B or the warm category. And in that particular category, you make contact with them twice a week. And for me, I used to do it on a Monday and Thursday, but you can pick any day of the week that you want to. Just don't do consecutive days. So you make contact with him twice a week. And what do you make contact with? Well, either from an email, a phone call, or a message, the exact same. And then, oh, we're only looking at selling because of renovations in maybe a month or two's time. They go into your cool database and you'll make contact with them every single week. And again, with a message, an email, or a phone call. And that goes into that. And even if they list with another property, another agent, you put them into the cool category and they remain there. You make contact on a weekly basis because when it gets time that that mandate expires, and now they're ready, guess what? They're going to move from that cool database, that category C, all the way through to category A. And there you start picking up your listing. Because you've had an ongoing conversation with them, you'll be able to have a lot of information as what worked for the property, what did not work for the property, what did the agent do, what did the agent not do. And you can actually then almost work your seller's presentation in your favor because now you've got some stats, you've got some data that you've got feedback from them that you can create that seller's presentation to know, hey, wait a minute, they wanted show houses every weekend. They wanted professional photos with a video tour. They only wanted viewings on a Thursday at 9 p.m., something ridiculous. They also would have noted that their property was listed at a high price, and by coming in, your price negotiations will definitely allow you to start bringing that down a level. You have a fantastic day. My final thought for today, guys, remember the future of your real estate. It starts right now by creating those categories to put your seller leads into. You all have a fantastic week further. Thanks all.